Anime fights are rad. They're more than rad. They're amazingly rad. In fact, we all have a favorite fight, just like everyone has a favorite waifu or husbando. However, in anime, there are those fights that are decided by one single attack that may end the life of your favorite waifu or husbando. You know the ones, where either the entire fight was leading up to the big attack or the two fighters are just so far apart in level that one punch is all it takes to knock their lights out. Well, we'll be looking at a fair selection of both in this video. It'll be more than a ball, it'll be a brawl. Saitama vs. Sea King. While it would be fun to have this list be nothing but One-Punch-Man entries, because let's be honest, that's the whole point of the show, we have to give other shows and fights a chance. In Season 2, the Deep Sea King presents himself as the main antagonist of the Sea Monster arc. After all the underlings are defeated by Stinger, he decided to enter the ring and fight. Deep Sea King makes quick work of Stinger, who is already heavily injured, and soon goes after the A-ranked heroes, making quick work of Lightning Max. It comes down to Genos to take down the Freaky Fish Man, and as anyone who's seen One Punch Man knows, it often doesn't go well for Genos. To no one's surprise, Genos eats it. He eats it big time. To his credit, he was protecting a little girl from being hit with acid, so it's not really his fault. As usual, however, Saitama comes in to completely show everyone up. Just as the show implies, Saitama obliterates Sea King with one punch. It was raining during the fight, and the punch was so powerful that the shockwave cleared away the rain. Another one bites it after just one punch. Man. Beerus vs. Goku. Fights in Dragon Ball are the exact opposite of fights in One Punch Man. Fights can last many episodes and come to serious blows. However, none of that really matters since the fights are almost always decided by one last all-out attack. Dragon Ball Super introduced a whole new level of power in the Gods of Destruction, and the franchise was thrown a curveball when Beerus landed on the scene. After being asleep for a few thousand years, the Purple Cat of Death is raring to go and decided to blow up some planets. He soon gets a vision of a fighter who could one day surpass him or give him a good fight, and that fighter is none other than Goku. At this point in the anime, Goku hasn't gone Super Saiyan God, or is even aware of that power. Beerus visits King Kai's planet while Goku is training, and then the next thing you know, the two are brawling. Normally, a Dragon Ball fight will start out slow and build up, but this fight was over before it even began. Despite going Super Saiyan 3, Goku can't land a single hit on Beerus, and with just a flick of Beerus' wrist, Goku lands flat on his back and is unable to even fathom Beerus' power. All Might vs. One for All. Now this was a fight for the ages. Season 3 of My Hero Academia was one of the best seasons yet because of the amazing fights it featured. We got to see Bakugo and Deku square off for real in their first major fight. While this fight is not to be understated, it was only second place to the main conflict and emotional climax of the season, the fight between All Might and All for One. So much character development and backstory was revealed just in this fight. Emotions were running around about as fast and as loose as the fists being flung back and forth. However, it all came down to one final attack. All Might was at his very limit. He was a dwindling fire of hope in a blizzard, who was reminded of his shortcomings and those who held the power before him. With every last ounce of strength he had, All Might unleashed the United States of Smash. It was just enough to end the fight, but at the cost of his power. From that fight on, All Might no longer had his quirk, and what he had given to Deku was not only the power of One for All, but a responsibility to be a symbol for peace. Luffy vs. Bellamy. Because One Piece has a massive amount of characters and episodes, most callbacks fly over casual fans' heads unless they're really paying attention or the character they call back is really famous. The character in this instance is Bellamy, a low-level pirate of the Don Quixote Pirates. The first time we meet Bellamy is in the Sky Island arc, where the Straw Hats are resting at a port town. They run into Bellamy and his crew, and of course a fight breaks out. Bellamy arrogantly tries to take on Luffy, showing off his spring fruit powers, and begins to bounce around at high speeds. Unfazed by this power, Luffy decks Bellamy in the face and knocks him out in one punch. It was a great moment and demonstration of Luffy's power early on in the series. Leave it to One Piece, however, to call back the same scene twice. In the Dressrosa arc, Bellamy comes back stronger and with a higher rank within the Don Quixote pirates. However, Bellamy is forced to fight Luffy while under Doflamingo's control. Even after the control is lifted, Bellamy can't back down from a fight, and Luffy is forced to knock him down in the same manner as before. GILDARTS vs. NATSU. Being ambitious is an admirable quality in a lot of young and passionate people, but there's a fine line between ambition and stupidity, and it can quickly land one in trouble. Of course, from defeat you can learn to overcome, so it all works out in the end. This next fight between Fairy Tail's Natsu and GILDARTS shows that sometimes ambition is basically stupidity. During the Tenro Island arc, GILDARTS is tasked with fighting Natsu as part of the exam. He admits to Natsu that he doesn't like holding back, but Natsu doesn't care and engages him anyway. GILDARTS comments that Natsu isn't mentally prepared for combat, but the task for Natsu to pass is to make GILDARTS take 2 steps back. The fight is extremely one-sided, with GILDARTS using his crush magic to turn Natsu into a flock of mini Natsus. However, just when he thinks Natsu's failed, he manages to use his new form to annoy GILDARTS into taking 2 steps back. By no means did Natsu win, but he technically passed. And that's the best way to pass. Well, this fight wasn't a life and death fight, it was one with just 1 attack. Once again, technically passing the bar for this video. Gon vs. Neferpito. There's only so much you can do to an innocent soul before it snaps. There's also a lot more to a fight than a mere trade of blows. One of the most dramatic fights in the Hunter x Hunter series is between Gon and Neferpito. There are a lot of things you could call Gon, but a cold-blooded killer is not one of them. During the Chimera Ant arc, Gon and the gang face up against a new group of foes, one of which is Pito. Pito is one of the 3 royal guards of the Chimera Ant King, and during the arc, Neferpito kills Kite, a close friend of Gon's. Gon is unaware of this at first, but soon discovers the cold truth when fighting Pito. Gon rejects this, calling Pito a liar, but there's something inside Gon that just snaps. A dark aura of Nen surrounds the boy, and a very unusual transformation occurs. Gon goes from a small boy to a fully beefed-out adult, and after taking Pito outside to spare the hideout, proceeds to beat the ever-loving snot out of them. Seriously, for being the 3rd guardian to the Chimera King, Pito is no pushover, but they got utterly destroyed. Roy Mustang vs. Envy. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but when you can summon fire with a snap of your fingers, that phrase loses most of its meaning. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has a rich and engaging story, and a good part of it stems from the death of May Hughes. Roy Mustang is determined to see justice delivered and find out what Hughes uncovered and who killed him. In the 3rd act, Mustang is confronted with Hughes' killer, the shape-shifting homunculus Envy. While at first Envy is as arrogant as ever, showing off his power and even his true form, Mustang makes very quick and easy work of the monster. After killing Lust earlier in the show, he found completely dousing your opponent in fire to be an excellent way to deal with them, even if they can regenerate. Roy is able to burn their bodies to a crisp faster than they can regenerate, and by the time they recover, the stones that keep them alive are out of energy. Unlike Lust, however, Envy tries to run away, and the ultra-powerful homunculus is made to play a cruel game of cat and mouse. While this fight may not have had a decisive blow, the power of the 2 fighters was so out of balance, Envy had no hope of winning. Dragons vs. Humans. Now let's tone down the violence a tad and introduce our least bloody conflict in this video. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid is a fantasy slice-of-life anime about a salary woman who adopts a dragon maid to live with her and sorta be her girlfriend. Along the way, they also take in a small child dragon and adorableness ensues. It's a modern family in the making. While in their human form, these dragons still possess incredible powers. They have super strength, can summon fire, and a whole other slew of terribleness. So when Kana and her friend get picked on at school, the rest of the Dragon Clan are summoned to teach them a lesson. What is that lesson? The simple game of dodgeball. Well, by simple, we mean the dragons simply destroyed the humans without any effort and utterly demolished any hopes and dreams they might have had. All it took was one hit to the chest and the humans went down. Sure, these dragons disguised as humans have the power to throw normal people through a brick wall, but now these regular schoolyard bullies will know better than to pick on kids. You never know who these kids might get to come back and beat you up. King Bradley vs. Greed. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? It's a paradox that's perplexed scholars for centuries. However, anime has answered that question already, and it's simple. The unstoppable force will just cut through the immovable object, shattering it into a million pieces and destroying it. Paradox solved. This is seen in another amazing fight from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, when the homunculus Greed fights off against Wrath, aka King Bradley. In this fight, Greed gloats he has an ultimate shield that can't be destroyed, but Wrath makes quick work of that. Greed is easily beaten, along with his other comrades. It seems like no one can stand up to Bradley and his ultimate eye for battle and strategy. Despite not having supernatural powers like shape-shifting, carbon skin, or spears for fingernails, Wrath is able to cut down opponents with ease due to his years of fighting experience and his ultimate eye to detect any weak points. It makes him an unstoppable force. Greed would eventually be revived in a way. He takes over the body of Ling, and the two take out their revenge on Wrath again, this time with much better odds. This is due to a mix of Greed's powers and Ling's martial arts skills. BARAGGAN LOUISENBAIRN vs. SOIFON and HACHI. Back in the good old days of Bleach before the fall, there was a plethora of good fights. It was basically Dragon Ball Z, but with swords. During the final season of the actual plot, the 13 Court Guard captains squared off against the Espada, a group of super strong hollow human hybrids for the fate of the world. Each captain squared off against an Espada, and in true Dragon Ball fashion, even though this isn't Dragon Ball, each battle would take many episodes to complete. One such battle was between SOIFON and BARAGGAN LOUISENBAIRN, the king of Espada. Or he would be if Aizen didn't control all of them. His special quirk, we mean power, is that he can rot and decay anything he touches. This presents an interesting challenge for SOIFON, who's basically a ninja and relies on close quarters combat. Given that she's a ninja, it's only appropriate that her Bankai is a giant freaking missile. However, that's not what ultimately ends this rotting skeleton man. In true ironic fashion, with the help of Hachi, Baron is defeated with one touch of his own rotting powers. After all that, the mere act of touching himself brought his demise. Just like King Midas, his own cursed touch did him in. Beautiful. And those were just some of the fights that were either super one-sided or ended in one single attack. Do you agree with our list? We'd love to hear more about your suggestions in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to CBR and hit that bell icon to be notified of future content. Hey, thanks for watching.